What is going on, guys? It's your boy Chris here. I'm back with a new video. This is going to be a little bit different than my usual thing. It's going to be kind of a lesson about certain things and how you're supposed to conduct yourself in a certain media sense. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I am not a journalist. Okay, I am not a journalist, but the situation that went down with Ibou from Wrestle Purists and Ayo from Wrestle Purists or wherever he's from and stuff. Um, I can say from personal experience, having taken a one semester freshman journalism class, that I know not to do what he did. Um, it's basic common fucking sense not to do what he did. And for those who don't know what he did, basically what he did, and I'm going to clarify this as much as possible, and I'm going to give as much detail as I can. He, on his private Discord server with Ayo, him and Ibou, Ayo and Ibou were basically spilling dirt on like backstage and private information they had regarding AEW. Um, Stuff involving like backstage fights, stuff involving people allegedly cheating on each other, on their significant others, stuff like that. Like stuff that if you have this knowledge, unless you've gotten verification from somebody, you don't run on it. You don't go telling people about it. The reason you don't do that is, one, you burn your source for news because eventually they're gonna realize that you did this. Um, and two, you're doing a shit ton of damage to innocent people that have nothing to do with anything, right? So you're fucking with people's livelihoods and their way of, you're fucking with people's lives, their private lives, spilling personal, private information about them that is really nobody's fucking business. You really shouldn't be talking about it. And before anyone says this, yes, Conan talked about the one situation regarding Britt Baker on his podcast. Now, he just said he was told this by somebody, that this is why Britt Baker and Adam Cole broke up. It was because she cheated. That's what he said. Should he have said it? No. More than likely, it's something that slipped out and he should have said. Ibou and AO, like, they were talking about, like, dudes fighting over, like, Sky Blue, getting into fights because she did whatever with whoever. And, like, that's not cool. Like, now she's got to deal with that shit. And shit rolls down. And again, and the Britt Baker stuff affects her. Like, I'm no fan of hers, but this puts her in a bad light. Like, yo, what are you talking about? Like, that can turn people off to her completely. Now she says it didn't happen. It's now a he said, she said. Adam Cole's probably never going to talk about it, so you're never going to get the truth. Or at least the truth as it's going to be told. Because we don't need to know what really happened with them. All we know is that they broke up, and that's their business. That's not shit that you don't talk about someone's breakup or why they broke up. You accept that they broke up and you keep it moving. That's how you do shit. But this dude's out there talking about backstage fights that may have happened and shit like that. Like, you don't talk about this because some of that stuff wasn't even out there. You're talking about people getting into fist fights So it makes AEW's locker room look toxic as fuck, right? Or saying that somebody yelled at you that maybe didn't yell at you, you're making it look like you've got this inroad with this guy that you may not actually have. So it's like, bro, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do that shit. So the other reason you can't do this is the most important reason why you don't go on a Discord server talking a bunch of all this shit about wrestlers and their private shit is it's going to get out that you did this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna get out there that you did what you did. And that's what happened. And then, but what led to it happening was Ibou and Sean Ross Sapp browbeating the AR old guy, AR Gold, about doing the same shit that Ibou was doing on his fucking thing. And then you kind of like, it was kind of glossed over in that whole thing with Sapp and Gold, but he all but said he got the shit from Ibou and the shit he was doing. That's where he got that from. Now, the other factor of this that people are not factoring in is how this affects a Fightful or a Wrestle Purist. Now, I'm no fan of either of these outlets, I make that known, but it puts them in the middle of shit that they didn't fucking do. Like, Wrestle Purists, because Ibou worked with them, now has to answer questions about what their boy did. And same with Sapp, who brought him in to do their Raw post show. Sapp, who for once didn't do anything wrong, other than bring this guy on to Fightful for that Raw post show, now has to address the shit he did because since he's on your platform, in a way, you represent that platform. Now, Sapp kind of was like, I didn't do it. And it's like, yeah, but you still have a responsibility for this guy because when you brought him in, you vouched for that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? You vouched for him by bringing him on. You endorsed him by bringing him on your thing. So yeah, even though you didn't do it, you're still going to answer for that shit, bro. You're going to get asked about it. You don't get to get defensive because someone asks you about it. Like, look what your boy's doing. But at the same time, to quote the old drug commercial where the dad's confronting their kid about their drug use, when the dad's like, where'd you learn to do this? And the kid just says, you, Dad, I learned it from watching you. That's where Ibou got it the okay to do this shit. Because ultimately, that's what Fightful does. The actions and the behavior. It's shit that Fightful does. People over at Fightful have doxed people. People over at Fightful have gone into people's DMs and emailed them, challenging them to fights and shit. They have reached out to people, like emailed people's jobs, called their jobs, called their families and shit, and just, trying to get them in trouble with people that in their personal lives. And this is the type of shit that Fightful people have done. And when it's done, Sean Ross Sapp plays the fucking victim and doesn't address it with these people. Like, these people still work at Fightful. So yeah, you've got no high ground to be telling anyone how to conduct themselves because look at the shit you fucking do. Now, Russell Pierce, on the other hand, the guy Monty, that poor dude, he literally didn't do shit wrong. Like, he didn't do anything here. And that guy had to come out and do a fucking had to do a fucking podcast where he had Ibou and AO1 and they had to address it. Like, I said, and he's like, I don't endorse what they fucking did. I'm not cool with it. This isn't what we fucking do here at Wrestle Purists. Like, I don't support it. And I don't support them doing this. And now, like, they're on indefinite leave. Okay. So they're not going to be on WrestlePeers for a while. And apparently tonight, Sapp's going to have a talk with Ibou live, whatever that's going to entail, where Sean is going to get to play that moral high ground again on somebody and throw his boy under the bus. And it's like, yeah, you get to do that in this case, but you're no saint. And now, as far as the journalism standpoint, quote unquote, and I'm using quote sense because none of these people are actual journalists, in my opinion. And again, that's my opinion. If you think they're journalists, you are free to do whatever you want and think whatever you think. But these motherfuckers are not journalists. None of these dirt sheets are. They're just not. They're not actual news. They all peddle in rumors and speculation and guessing shit. Okay? All of them do. Meltzer, all the way down the line from everybody else that came after him, that's what they fucking do. They peddle rumors from innuendo and guess and guessing. That's what they're doing. And they're charging you all this money for it. Now, when the aspect of the Discord server, those motherfuckers were charging $5 a month. So $5 a month, you're paying for a Discord to go on the Discord server and basically hear these guys talk all this shit about this fucking promotion. Now, the one thing that people are going to glossing over in the mea culpa moment that they had yesterday, where Monty pulled up, like basically like called them out on their shit. Like, credit to him for doing that, but AO didn't really come off as like with any real remorse. Ibou, to his credit, openly showed remorse for what he did because he knows he fucked up. Like, whatever sources he had or whatever relationships he had in AEW, those are fucking gone. Like, no one's ever going to talk to him again. They may forgive him for what he did, but he will never be in that clique anymore. He's on the outs, and he will never get back inside that club. As far as that goes, he's done. And as well he should be. But there was a point where they took questions during this. And the question was asked outright, hey man, were you just making this shit up? Were you fucking lying about all this? Or did you get this from somebody in AEW? At which point they said they got that shit information that they were talking about from someone inside AEW. Which again goes back to the AEW's locker room is dusty as fuck, and they need to clean out these fucking narcs. Like, you have to get rid of these people. They're killing your company from within. The call's coming from within the house. Like, you have people feeding these dirt sheets information, and that's not good. That's how the shit about Britt Baker got out, about her allegedly cheating on Adam Cole. That's how we now know about whatever was going on with Sky Blue that may or may not have happened. And that's the other thing. The person they're getting this from, now they may be lying, but we don't know who did it. Because they're not going to out who told them this shit. Because if they do, again, you burn your source. But the source could be making shit up. And the reason why I'm bringing up sources and I'm bringing up journalism is, and I said this yesterday, those guys should be excommunicated from any type of journalism involving wrestling or anything else they fucking do. And I say that because anybody remember the name Dan Rather? CBS Evening News host? That guy? Uh, remember when he ran with that report about George W. Bush's Vietnam war record, and stuff like that? Well, that got exposed as being false information, and he ran with it. And since he didn't vet that information and do what he was supposed to do, he got fucking fired. Name Pete Williams sound familiar? NBC Nightly News with Pete Williams. He got caught lying about being in a combat situation in Afghanistan and Iraq, and during the second Iraq war after 9/11. And you know what happened to him? He got fired from NBC Evening News, Nightly News. They fired him from that job. They pulled him. He stayed on the net on MSNBC hosting a show for a while, but he lost the prime gig he had. So when you do this as an actual journalist, there are consequences for those things. There are consequences when you do the shit that Ibou and a.k.a. did. Serious consequences. People lose their jobs. People's lives get torn up for doing the shit that they did. Like, who's gonna apologize to Sky Blue? And not in private, I mean publicly. Who's gonna man up and publicly apologize to Sky Blue for what was said about her? Or apologize to Darius Martin or Kyle Fletcher or Roosh or even Britt Baker? Like, who's going to apologize to her? Who's going to apologize to Adam Cole because now he's in it? Who's going to apologize to MJF and CM Punk or Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins or Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins? Who's going to apologize for the dirt those motherfuckers threw out on their names for shit they may or may not have actually done? According to whoever the fuck their source was, their sources are. No one's going to publicly apologize for shit. And the fact that it hasn't happened yet says everything that needs to be said about those motherfuckers. Says everything right fucking there. That they haven't publicly apologized and named names of the people they wronged. And that's the key. Issuing a blanket fucking apology doesn't mean shit if you don't attach the names of the people you wronged to it. Like, if I did something to somebody like that, you can bet your fucking ass I would be, if I'm owning up to it, I will own up to it and I will name names. Because, again, that shit I learned in a freshman journalism class in one fucking semester. In addition to talking to actual journalists who cover, like, in this case, they were covering sports, covering news. I talk to these people to get their insight, just asking advice as someone taking a class. And they were kind enough to impart their knowledge to me to help me through that class. And once I passed my class, I made it a point to thank those gentlemen for taking that time to answer my question. And again, I'm nobody. So the fact that they cared enough or they took the time to answer that meant the world to me because it helped me in a situation where I was just looking for advice on a situation in my class, and they were kind enough to impart knowledge on me. So while I may not be a journalist, I know from those interactions with those individuals how to conduct myself as a journalist. And had these guys, and let me tell you something, these individuals, and I'm going to name this guy, It was Bruce Cunningham. He used to work at Fox 45 in Baltimore. He was kind enough to impart knowledge on me. And then there was Troy Johnson, who worked at 1057 before they became Sports Talk. And now he works in, I think, St. Louis, I believe, if I'm mistaken on that. But they were both, but he worked at 92Q on their morning, big fat morning show back in Baltimore. But he was the news guy, so to speak. So these two gentlemen were kind enough to extend their knowledge to me and get my opinion. And I actually met Troy Johnson, and he interviewed me briefly for something he was doing for his show. And like it was cool. Like I got to talk with him. And I got to thank him in person. Bruce, I did message him. I emailed him and thanked him for his help. But both of those gentlemen imparted the little nugget of knowledge to me to help me through my class. So it's out of respect to them that I'm like, these motherfuckers aren't journalists because you don't do what these guys do, what they do. That's not journalism. That's fucking bullshit. And they're all guilty of it. Like all of them are, because all of it's rumors and shit. And just to tie things into a nice little bow here, you notice how like all the WWE rumors and shit, all that stopped once certain people got let go? People that were feeding like news sites information. Like you notice how you don't hear shit from like behind the scenes in WWE anymore? No one's giving you like juicy details about backstage drama or anything. You don't hear anything about WWE anymore. Do you know why? Because anyone that they found out was doing it, they fucking fired. They got caught, got, and they got gone. All of them got axed out. So you're not getting those types of details out of WWE. You're not getting all those rumors and shit like that. And now it's all people just guessing about WWE's backstage stuff. It's guessing about, oh, so and so, like there are reports that people are mad about Penta going overtime over in his match. None of it was true. None of it was true. There was no heat on Penta for going over in his debut match. It was his debut match. And they wanted to showcase him. And they wanted him to speak. And they did. It didn't go over. The show was 2.5 hours long. You think they went over on fucking Netflix? There's no such thing as going over anymore with Raw on Netflix. Get the fuck. It was a lie. It's a flat out lie. Or the thing that came out over the weekend about AEW being in the top 10 of sports, live sports on Max. Max doesn't do live sports rankings. It does. That's not a thing that they do. It doesn't exist. Not only that, but if you look at their top 10 of their streaming and stuff, it's not there either. It doesn't exist. It's not real. It doesn't exist. AEW is not in the top 10 of any of their rankings anywhere on their site. And you can look it up for yourself and see that that's bullshit. But because Meltzer and Fightful put it out, it has to be true, except that it's not. And it's easily debunked. So, Sean, when you asked that one dude to say one thing you put out that was false, there you go, buddy. There's your false report. There's your false information. Unless you've got some other metric that you can show to prove what you said, you lied. You lied right there. And it's right there in front of everybody. You lied. Point blank. So there you go. So as far as journal, and this is my lesson in journalism. And the biggest piece of advice I can give to anybody out there that wants to get into journalism, don't be like the people at The Observer or at Fightful or even wrestle purists. Don't be like any of these people because you're going to fuck up your potential career or your actual career if you have one already. Don't be like them. Like, don't post shit that's easily disprovable. And again, like I said, you can go on Max right now and you can see that they don't have live sports rankings. So AEW isn't at the top of their sports rankings because it's not a thing. You can also look at the top 10 of their top stream things, and AEW is not listed in their top 10 anywhere because no one's fucking watching it on Max. It's not being watched on Max. It's being watched on TBS. That's happening. It's being watched there in the hundreds of thousands, but people aren't really pressed to watch it on Max, especially if you already have TBS. Why the fuck would you stream it on Max? No one's gonna. It's bullshit. That's easily like you take 2 seconds to find that they're running with, and it's like that's just not true. And in that case, it's not true. But there you go. Right? There you go. So there's your deal, folks. In closing, as far as Fightful and those sites go, like, fire these dudes and disassociate with them if you want to have any type of actual credibility. What little bit you have left, you need to cut ties with them because they're going to do more harm to you than good. Because when you bring like those type of people into your organization, when they eventually fuck up, and this won't be the first time he fucks up, and it won't be the last, it's gonna bring shit onto your door that you may not want to deal with. And it did in this case, and it went bad for you. So that's what I've got regarding that shit. So anyway, I'm gonna jump off here. I got stuff to do, so life and shit like that. Anyway, oh, but no, actually, I'm gonna correlate this into my role on my podcast with the Bayou Geeks. So this is another lesson in how to do things. Don't just randomly bring in somebody because they have a good personality. You get to know the person or something first. And that was where Sapp fucked up in hiring Ibou. Like, he just thought he had a personality, so he brought him in. It's like, why would you bring this guy in? He's a fucking clown. Okay, when he fucks up, it's going to fall on you. Now, when I was initially brought on to the Bayou Geeks, it was as a guest, right? I got invited on to do their anniversary show, their second anniversary show. And I came on just to hang out for a minute, say hey, congratulate them on the success, and that was going to be it. And then they did a Royal Rumble watch along, and they invited me to come on because they know I'm a wrestling fan. So I came on there, we did the thing, it was fun. And that turned into another invite to come on for, I think, a video game discussion, and then I think it was another wrestling discussion that had me come on, and it was kind of fun. And then the invitation to become a full-time member got extended when Fatty, Maximus, and Dirk, I guess they were talking about it. Uh, Shot of Brandy okayed it, and thus I was invited to become a full-on part of the crew. But it wasn't something that just happened. It took me being on a couple times, getting to know them getting to know me, getting the type of person I am. We had to click with each other, stuff like that, and that's how that all happened. It wasn't just a, hey man, you want to join the show? That's not how it works. Hell, they don't even have guests on the pop on that just like that. You've gotta be cool. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be cool to even get through that part. Because in fact he said this. He said this on the show. We were doing a show and he was like, I'm not just gonna bring somebody on my show. That's not how, this ain't that thing. And I have treated that with respect. I would never do anything to hurt their brand or their reputations because that makes it reflects on them because they associate with me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to do anything to fuck up their thing because the way I see it, I've only been there not even a year. I'm still a guest. I was invited in. I'm on every other week, but I'm still like, I'm a guest here. This is their house. They're having me in as a guest. And I will always kind of see myself as a guest in their house. Even though I'm an official member of the show, that's the respect I have for my co-hosts and the stuff that I have for them, that they brought me on, or they thought enough of me to bring me on to their thing, and I would never do something to betray that trust. And like I said, that's what Ibou and AO did. That's what that is. It's a betrayal of the trust that the people that brought them in, it's a betrayal of their trust. It's a betrayal of Sean Ross Sapp's trust. It's a betrayal of Monty's trust. They got betrayed by what he did, and it causes them problems that they shouldn't have to deal with. And that's something, like I said, that's something I would never do to my co-hosts. I would never do that to any of my friends who have podcasts that would have me on. Like if I ever went on Wrestling Soup, I would never do anything to disrespect Mr. Joe. When I've been on with Spitball Media, I've never done anything to betray their trust. I would never do anything to betray them or to throw shade on them because of my respect for them and them having me even jump on with them for even 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't do that to the people, that have you come in as a part of their thing. You don't do that to them. And that's what these guys did. And that's what's wrong. What they did is wrong, but that's another after effect of what they did that's also fucked up. It's a betrayal of the trust people put in you to be above board and to do things a certain way. And that's the problem with it. And yes, I have my problems with Sapp. I have my problems with a lot of the things he's done and the way he conducts himself. But in this case, he got done. He didn't have anything to do with this. And it's not right that he has to now address it because of what those fucking idiots did. You know what I'm saying? Like, now he's got to address something he didn't even fucking do. And he's like, yo, I was on I feel bad for him. He's like, I was on vacation and now I gotta deal with this. What the fuck, bro? Like, that would be like, I would have publicly fired. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, man. I'd have publicly fired his ass. And some people are like, you can't, he is not gonna kick him while he's down. In this case, I would kick him while he's down. I would knee him in the fucking back. I would elbow drop him from the fucking sky. I would yeet him into the fucking sun publicly this were me and if I was him. That's how I would have done that. Because especially when like, yo, I didn't, what the fuck, man? Like, now I gotta deal with this shit? Why am I dealing with this? What did you do? Why did you do what you fucking did? Now I have to fucking address this. And now I'm gonna be an asshole. Like I said, I'd fucking into the fucking sun he would go. Yeet. Into the fucking sun. Straight up. That's how I would do that. And if I ever fuck up like that with the Bayou Geeks, I'm sure that Fatty and them will yeet me into the fucking sun, and I will fucking deserve it. If I ever do some shit like this guy did. So again, like, that's how that goes, man. That's how it's supposed to go. And we're not even journalists on the Bayou Geeks. We're not journalists. We don't report news. We talk about shit. We talk about news. We talk about like whatever, but we're not newsbreakers. But if I ever did anything to disrespect the shit that their house, I already know I'd be out. And I would expect to be out. If I ever did anything to like disrespect like anybody that I associate with out there, I would expect to be out. Because that's how that's supposed to go. So, like, and like I said, the shit that you learn in, like, again, in a freshman journalism class, I learned not to do the shit that they did. Like, fuck out of here with that. And for people defending them, like, you do realize the damage is caused, right? Like, the damage is caused to AEW, to the talent that you claim to love so much. Like, just because that guy likes AEW doesn't mean like everything he does is perfect, or that you should support everything he does because he did this shit and he caused all this drama, and now you got to deal with it. And that's what you got to do now. And it's like, yo, I'm dealing with it. The after effects it had on other people that had nothing to do with it. Like, I can't believe, like, I'm actually defending Sean Ross Sapp to an extent. Because, like I said, he's innocent in all this. He had nothing to fucking do with it. But because of what he associated with this guy, works with them through association, now he's linked with them and he's got to deal with it. And he shouldn't have to. Neither should Monty from Russell Purists. Like, he shouldn't have had to do that shit yesterday. It shouldn't have ever been a thing because what they were doing never should have been done. And that's that, man. And if you don't understand why what he did is a problem, or why it's as big a deal as it is, then I don't know what to fucking tell you. But let me tell you something. As a journalist, that's not how you do shit. That's not how you're supposed to operate. That's not what you're supposed to do. And he can say, I'm not a journalist. Well, you work for journalists, for platforms who claim they are. So there's a standard you have to uphold. Whether they uphold it or not themselves is beside the point, but you're expected to do it because you're a part of that crew. And you're supposed to be a journalist. There's a certain, you may not be a journalist, but you have a responsibility as one when you're getting information like you were getting. You have a responsibility not to run your fucking mouth and tell the whole world about it. Some things ain't for the streets, man. Shut the fuck up, bro. Stop snitching. Basically. But like I said, that's all I got on this one. So, in closing, shout out to the Bayou Geeks, my homies, my co hosts, my friends. Shout out to Spitball Media, my boys, my friends. Shout out to Wrestling Soup. Shout out to the legendary Don Tony Kevin Castle Show. Shout out to Solo Monster. I haven't forgotten you, bro. Shout out to T Watches a Scary Movie, my man Theron. Um, Shout out to like all my people out there, my friends and all that stuff. Too many people to mention. I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Peace.